So this girl has now had her prelay shed after 19 days since ovulation. She's sitting at the back of the tub, exactly where she was right at the very start. A little bit of urates in there. And we have 30 days now until she lays her eggs approximately. So what we're going to do is to refresh her tub in preparation for egg laying. She has plenty of time to resettle down and rescent, and what I will do is to leave the scrunched up newspaper that has her scent on it in the tub so that she can settle quickly when we just clean everything up in preparation for eggs. So here we go. Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. Just wanted to give you a little update on my breeding season so far. It's about this time of year that things start to slow down and you wonder if anything is actually happening. We'll try to keep the disturbance to a minimum. So I'll just cross that out and put 1/8 of the second. Cross that out and put 1/10 of the third. She has about 30 days to go. February only has 28 days, so it'll be the 10th when she lays. So I have a pre-prepared tub for her. We'll just stick that label on there. So we'll stick our water bowl in. We'll put the scrunched up newspaper that she had before. That makes her feel more comfortable. Now very, very gently we'll just lift her up, put her back into the refreshed tub. I'll also put her shed back in because that has scent too, so she'll feel right at home. And we'll stick her back in the rack and leave her alone for 30 something days. There we go. Prelay shed done. This female also had its prelay shed, also 19 days after ovulation. You can see her sitting there, and this tub is not so messy, it's quite clean still, so I'm just leaving this one. I'm not going to touch this female, I'll just leave her well alone. So there you go, that's the second prelay shed, 19 days after ovulation. Breeder males that have gone off food, when should I pull them? Should I be worried? My advice is the best thing that you can do with your breeder males is between pairings, leave them alone. You've heard this advice from me before. Do not mess with your snakes, just leave them alone. They will be fine. Let's take a look at some of my males. This guy here is my Orange Dream Yellow Belly male. Started out the season as a quite small male. This guy has continued to eat throughout. He's been paired with several different females, as locked on a regular basis, and he is still eating and still growing. He ate yesterday and he's ready to be paired up again probably tomorrow. I'll give him 48 hours to digest the meal. But this guy is going great guns, no issues at all with this male. This guy here is my Xanthic 66% possible het for clown male that I've been using in my double het projects. So a fairly essential male. Again, he started the season at about 800 grams and he has continued to eat throughout despite being paired up fairly regularly. and in fact he ate yesterday, even though he is just going into shed. So another male that's not giving me any issues whatsoever. This is my pastel yellow belly Hetfer clown male, and you can see immediately that he's underneath the paper, so that tells you a difference in behaviour immediately. This guy is still looking fine. His colour is good. He still has a good body size. He's been paired to several females, but this guy has not eaten for 3 weeks. Normally I feed my males every 2 weeks anyway, so it's not a huge loss. This guy is still good to go, no issues here, but obviously we're watching him. He hasn't eaten for 3 weeks. This guy has also continued to eat throughout and ate yesterday. This male is being paired to a single female. He's a veteran male here, a veteran of several seasons, quite a big male, well over 1,000 grams. This guy hasn't eaten for about a month, but I am not in the least bit concerned about this guy. He's a big male, plenty of body reserves, and he is still in the peak of health, good to go. This guy, again in the paper, but did eat yesterday. This is my double het, possible double het albino clown male. He's been paired to 2 females. He has continued to eat throughout and ate yesterday. Asphalt male, in shed, but ate yesterday. So what have we got of males that I am actually concerned about? This is my Enchi Cyprus Ivory, who always was a picky eater and has not been performing very well with the girls. He's got a little bit of poo on him here. He hasn't eaten in about 2 weeks, and he's still looking nice and healthy. I've got no issues with this guy. He's still looking quite chunky, but he isn't doing the business with the girls, so I haven't been pushing him very hard. If he doesn't look interested when I put him in with the females, I pull him straight back out again. So again, this is a male that has gone off food. He's been a little bit picky for the last 2 or 3 weeks, hasn't eaten for a couple of weeks, no issues with his health, but he's not performing anyway, so this is one to watch. And this guy is the only guy that I'm actually concerned about. He hasn't eaten for a month. This is my Lemon Blast Desert Ghost. He has switched off food now. He's done his job with 2 females, and he is currently scheduled for pairing with a female this week. He's only servicing 1 female, but he has been off food now for several weeks. He hasn't lost condition, he's still alert. This is definitely one to watch. You can see that his coloration has started to fade a little bit, so this guy is actually now starting to lose condition. I can see that visually. So this is definitely one to watch. He has 1 female to service next week, and I will probably go ahead with that pairing, and then he'll have another month off. So this male is a concern. He's a reasonable size, but he is actually starting to show signs of being a little bit stressed. He is a stud male and has serviced several females so far this season, but he's down to 1 now, so that's a little bit less of a concern. But this is definitely a male to watch. I'm not going to pull him right now. I showed him on the last video and said I was concerned. I am still concerned. He hasn't eaten since then, but I think he's still good for 1 more shot, and we'll reassess again. You can see that he is actually quite active. He's alert. So this is the only male that I have that I'm really at all concerned about, and he is still good to go. I'm just putting his hide back. We'll tuck him in. So the hide is just to give him a little bit of extra confidence to see whether we can get him to eat, but otherwise no special treatment. He's sticking his head out of the hide now. This guy refused food again last night. He didn't want to eat and I didn't push him. Normally I would advise a male such as this one not to mess with them. So I am actually stressing him out by shooting the video. When I say don't mess with them, I mean don't even look at them. I don't handle them, I don't open their tubs too often to check on them, just leave them alone. And that's the solution for this male. We'll leave him alone. He will be paired up next week and I'll show you that, but the rest of the time he goes back in the rack and we leave him alone. Some questions about the females too that are building. What are the signs? Are they going to go or are they not going to go? Have they had their prelay shed and did I miss an ovulation? If your snakes are still eating and they shed, it is highly unlikely that it is a prelay shed. They're going to go off food at least a month before they ovulate typically. Now, some females don't, but the majority of them do. Their digestive systems get restricted by the larger follicles, so they will have been off food for at least 4 weeks before they ovulate, and another 2 weeks after that before the prelay shed. So if your snake has shed and it's still eating, it is not a prelay shed. So let's take a look at a few of my females that are still building. Let's take a look at a couple of up and coming females. This is my yellow belly desert ghost and she is rapidly approaching 1500 grams, but she's still too young. She's only 18 months or so old. We need to clean her tub because there's a bit of rat poo in there. She got fed last night, so let me just clean her water for her. So there we go, she has nice clean water. So this is one that we'll maybe consider pairing a little bit later on in the season. Otherwise a candidate for next year. My ex-clown female, also 18 months and about 1350-1400 grams. You can see that she is actually bowl wrapping there. She did not eat yesterday, but she is way too small to be paired up at this stage. Even though she is bowl wrapping, I'm not going to be pairing this girl until she puts on at least another few hundred grams. So again, one to watch either for next season or later on this season, but she is not being paired right now. Here is another young first time female. She was paired up at the start of the season at 1500 grams because she was giving me all the signs that she did want to go, and this girl has just ballooned. She's continued to slam food. I think this girl is going to go on and give me a clutch of eggs even though she's quite young. You can see how chunky she's got. She has continued to be paired, so this is a first time female that I think is going to go on and give me a clutch of eggs this year, and she will be around 2 years or so of age when she lays her eggs, and she is already 1800, 1900 grams, still slamming food. This is another first time female that I paired up earlier in the season because she was actually up to size, and you can see that she's just shed. She was eating ravenously up to this point, and this girl is one that's continuing to build. This is an important pairing for me, so this is one to watch. I've often been asked, do females continue to shed during their build phase, and yes they do. It almost seems as if they carry on their normal shedding cycle regardless of whether they're building or not. So these girls are shedding once every 2 or 3 months, and then when she ovulates she will shed again after 2 weeks. That will be the hormonal shed, the prelay shed, which is outside of their normal schedule. Some females do wacky things with timing in terms of shedding, but otherwise they just keep right on going throughout the season regardless of whether they're being paired or not. Their normal shedding cycle seems to occur at regular intervals regardless, and the prelay shed is the one to watch. So yes, they do continue to shed throughout the build at their normal intervals. Let's take a look at some bigger females. This is my leopard mystic potion, and she is building to enormous size, and she is actually still eating, so a way to go for this girl yet. She's at least 3 months away from eggs. Typically they'll be off food for around a month, 6 weeks, or possibly even longer before they ovulate, and then another 6 weeks after that to eggs. So still a way to go for this girl, but this is typical of my girls this season. They're building quite nicely but actually still eating, so early days yet, still several months away from eggs. This big girl here is a little bit closer. She is actually just starting to go off food. She did eat yesterday but hesitated, and she has just shed. So again, answering the question, do they shed during the build phase? Yes, they do. Their normal schedule of shedding keeps right on going, and you can see that this girl is actually looking quite thick. So I think this is going to be one of the first females that I have, apart from the two from ARP that I borrowed. This is probably my earliest girl to give me a clutch of eggs, so we'll watch her quite closely. She has started to get a little bit picky with food. Here's another large female. This is my Silky Way, or Leopard Ivory. She gave me a clutch of eggs last year in June, and if you remember, this year she's been paired to the Asphalt male, who was not performing but just in the nick of time. The last round of pairings he did actually lock with this girl, which is good because she has just started to go off food now. She's looking quite large, so again, we're probably a good few months away from eggs yet. We'll continue to pair this girl with that Asphalt male, but she now has one good lock under her belt from a number of unsuccessful pairings. Let's hope that that continues now that she's getting closer to ovulation. This girl here is one of my double hets. She is now off food, so again we'll continue to pair her. She hasn't ovulated yet, but she's definitely gone off food. She refused again yesterday, so it's been 2 or 3 weeks now since she actually ate, so we'll be watching out for an ovulation on this one, but in the meantime she's still on the pairing roster. This girl is another possible double het. This is the Xanthic Clown project. This girl is absolutely enormous. She was paired last year and did not breed, and I'm trying again this year, so she is well over 3 years old, and you can see that she is quite large. She's been building very nicely, pulling all sorts of different shapes, lying in funny positions, but funnily enough still eating. She ate again last night, so this is one that's still on the pairing roster. Keep going with this girl. This is my Pastel Vanilla Clown girl. She's just in shed at the moment, again answering that same question. Do they continue to shed when they're in their build phase? Yes, they do. This is the only remaining female that's currently being paired to the Leopard Lemon Blast Desert Ghost, and he is scheduled to service her again next week, but we'll obviously wait for her to come out of shed before we pair him, so he gets a little bit more of a rest. He's the guy that's not eating, but this girl is building really nicely. She gave me a clutch of eggs last year in August, so we're expecting around about the same sort of timing. She has had several successful locks with that Leopard Lemon Blast Desert Ghost male, and so she does have a store of sperm if she needs it, but I would prefer her to lock up at least 2 or 3 more times with that male as we get closer to her ovulation date. So this is another one that's looking very promising. She's looking very thick, very chunky here. She's about to shed in the next few days, so we'll see about pairing that male up to her again. Here is another female that has just shed, and you'll notice that I've left the urates in the tub, and I've also left the shed in the tub in preparation for my round of pairings next week. So excuse the dirty tub, but that is quite deliberate. I've left her sitting in her own scent, and we'll stick the male into this tub with the shed and the urates already in place sometime next week when I decide to do my next round of pairings. So that's another girl that's continuing to build quite nicely. She ate again yesterday after shedding, so that tells you where we are in my season. Still early days yet, and the majority of my females are actually still eating, although some of them are definitely starting to get a little picky now. So we're just at that phase of around about 25mm follicles. Females are starting to go off food, but we're probably still at least a month away from the first of my females to be ovulating, so still early days yet in my season. This is another big pied girl. Again, she is well over 3 years old. We've been trying for 2 seasons to breed her with the pastel pied male to get some visual pieds out of this. This girl is big, and she ate again yesterday, so Lord knows where she is in her build cycle. She didn't lay eggs for me last year, and I have no clue what to expect from her this year, but we'll keep pairing, we'll keep feeding as long as she wants to eat, and we'll see what happens. Here we have the classic bowl wrap. This is my Pastel Enchi female, who is now off food, definitely off food. She's refused food now for the last 3 or 4 times. She's been paired to the Orange Dream Yellow Belly male and is scheduled to be paired again next week, but this girl must be getting fairly close to ovulation. You can see that she is quite chunky. She's bowl wrapping and she's refused food for about 3 weeks, so we'll get a lock in with this girl before she actually ovulates, hopefully next week. Another homegrown female that is now approaching 22 months old. She is about 1500 grams. This is my Super Pastel Vanilla Yellow Belly Spot Nose Het for Clown female, and I'm really keen to get this girl paired up to a visual clown male to produce all sorts of different combos, but she is not being paired. She is neither old enough nor large enough yet, and I do not want to risk this girl. She's too valuable, so she'll be one that will breed either later this season or early next season. She's not being paired at the moment. We have a couple of pastel het pied females being paired to different males. This female here, I won't disturb her too much, you can see under there, but this one has continued to eat ravenously. She's continued to build. She is bowl wrapping right now, although she's wrapped around the paper. So this one looks like she's going to go on to lay a clutch of eggs, although she is still eating and still building. And her sister, another pastel het for pied female, is not behaving that way at all, and she's being a very picky eater, and despite the fact that she's being paired, this girl is not going to go on and lay a clutch of eggs this year. I've pretty much given up on this girl. You can see that she is still quite skinny despite being paired up. She has not been enthusiastic on food. I've even put some newspaper in here to try to settle her down a bit and encourage her to grow some follicles, but she's not doing the business for me. So whilst her sister looks good and is probably going to go on and give us a clutch of eggs, this girl here, exactly the same age, exactly the same weight, exactly the same clutch, is not going to go on and give us a clutch of eggs, unfortunately. And you remember the female that reabsorbed and started to eat again? This is her, and you can see this is the normal girl that went off food, was building, looking quite chunky, giving all the signs, bowl wrapping, etc. You can see that this girl is now back to normal size. She's completely reabsorbed those follicles and she is eating again. And I've stopped pairing this girl as well. We could continue to pair her and hope she develops later in the season, but with this girl I'm not pairing her anymore. She'll be rested for the rest of this year. She gave me a clutch last year, so we'll let her rest this season, but clearly I was correct. This girl has quite clearly reabsorbed and is not going to go on and give us a clutch of eggs this year. Apart from the 2 snakes that I have borrowed on breeder loan, which are going to lay eggs in the next couple of weeks, they're quite far advanced compared to my females. Apparently not much is going on in the breeding room. Things are starting to slow down. The females are not eating as much as they did. They're becoming less and less active, and you start to wonder if anything is actually going to happen. I do have about 5 snakes paired up as we speak, and I'm about to check those. I'm just doing my normal morning rounds in the snake room here. The next big round of pairings will be next week when I have about 10 or 12 pairings, so business as usual, we just keep going. So my apologies, not much new to show, but that in itself is something to show. This is all part of the process. Patience is required. And a huge thank you to all my subscribers. I have just in the last couple of weeks made over 2,000 subscribers. I never thought when I started that my channel would be as popular as it's become. So thank you all for the support that you've shown me. It really is much appreciated. So thanks for watching. Sorry there's not too much to show today. Come here you, trouble. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.